Okay, so let's proceed to Module 3. So Module 3 pertains naman to two crimes, okay? Two crimes, piracy and mutiny, okay? But there are so many subtopics under this modules or under these crimes, okay? So first, we're going to discuss what is piracy. Okay, piracy. I'm sure you have heard of the term piracy, pirates. Okay, those are very common words. And as a matter of fact, no, in the early 20s, the term piracy is used, no, pertaining to the illegal reproduction of movies, musics, no. If you remember, I don't know if you remember those time. However, that kind of piracy is not what is we're going to discuss this afternoon, this day. Okay, so piracy under revised penal code refers to a robbery. Okay, the term robbery is again very common. Sa Binisaya pa pagpangawat, sa Tagalog pagnanakaw. Okay, piracy simply means robbery or depredation. Depredation is another term for robbery in the high seas. Okay, what do you mean by high seas? These are the parts of or body of water that does not belong to any country. Okay, 'di ba alam, 'di ba, for example, Philippines, we have territorial seas. Okay, then China also have its own territorial sea. Japan, Taiwan, and other countries in Asia. Okay, but there are still part of that ocean, let's say Pacific Ocean, China Sea, South China Sea, or whatever body of water that connects, no, those countries, no. There are part of this body of water that does not belong to any country. Okay, and that's what we call high seas. So in short, these are the part or area of the sea or ocean that are not owned, no, parts of the sea or ocean that are not owned by any country. So that is high sea. Okay, and then that is pagnanaka o pagpangawat in high seas. But under our law, no, we also consider piracy within the Philippines. No, there is what we call piracy in the Philippine water. So if ang pagnanakaw or ang pagpangawat is done, no, within the Philippine Sea, then that's what we call piracy in the Philippine waters. So we are talking about seas and oceans, then automatically logic dictates that yung ninanakawan is a ship, no, barko. Okay, barko yung ninanakawan. Okay, because those are the vessels that are traversing or traveling in this body of water. So ang piracy is simply ang pagnanakaw na ginagawa sa mga barkong pangdagat. Okay, barkong pangdagat, because if it is ilog, no, pagnanakaw sa ilog ng Pilipinas, then that is still considered piracy in the Philippine waters. Okay, so again, we need to have a distinction of piracy in high seas and piracy within the Philippine waters. Okay, if the crime is committed within the Philippine waters, then what is the applicable law is the law that specifically punishing piracy in the waters. But if the piracy is committed in high seas, then revised penal code is the law that should be applied. Okay, you might be confused. Okay, there are several laws, okay, what that we call penal in nature, no, meaning it is not only revised penal code, no, the law that provides for or defines the crime and its element and its punishment. It's not the only law that punishes a certain act. There are so many laws, what we call the special penal laws, no, that also defines and penalize an act. Okay, like for example is plunder. Okay, plunder. We have what we called a law against plunder. It's not defined under the revised penal code, but that is still a criminal act. Okay, so don't be confused when I say there are different laws that needs to be applied. Okay, so like if the law or if the crime of piracy is committed in high seas, then what law shall be applied? It's the revised penal code. But if the piracy is done within the Philippine waters, then the applicable law is the one that punishes piracy in the Philippine water. I cannot remember the specific law. It's PD 532, Presidential Decree number 532. Okay, you cannot memorize all these laws. I have a very poor memory. Even if I'm a lawyer, I cannot remember all this title and number. Okay, so PD 532 punishes the piracy within the Philippine waters. Okay, so now we have discussed what is piracy, no? And then in piracy, what is the most important element other than the fact that there is a robbery in the high seas or Philippine water and it is done in the vessel, no? Or in a boat or a ship, no? There's what we call animo fruende. Okay, but in your module it was stated animo furande. But if I'm not mistaken, it's animo fruende. Let me check, no? Because we are not part of the part in the committee or committee in preparing this module, so it was already given to us. Okay. The correct spelling is furande, Furand, but we pronounce it as animo fruende. Okay, anyhow, that's intent to gain. Okay, robbery, intent to gain. Okay, yun talaga ang dapat nyong i-remember. If there is intent to gain, then it's robbery or theft. But if there is force upon thing or upon person, then there is a damage, then it is robbery. But kung wala namang force upon things and person, then that is theft. Okay, it's okay. We will discuss it more when we reach that part of our discussion. But for now, okay, let's focus on piracy. Again, piracy is robbery in the high seas or Philippine water. If it is committed in high seas, the applicable law is the revised penal code. If it is committed within our territorial waters, then PD 532. And then in piracy, intent to gain is important to be established. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, yung mga pirata or the person who ransack or who rob the ship should have an intention to gain. Hindi lang sila pumasok sa barko para, to do something like what? Kill someone. Okay? So if the intention is only to kill someone and there is no intention for them to gain something out from that act, then that is not considered piracy, because the very essence of the crime of piracy is the intent to gain, or animo fruende or furende. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's how you spell it. But it's for your level, you just need to understand what is intent to gain means. Okay, you get something pecuniary in nature. Pecuniary means value of money. Okay, like for example, nagnakaw ka ng gas, nagnakaw ka ng mga sasakyan, nagnakaw ka ng mga ginto or whatever that is inside that ship. Okay, so that is piracy. Then there are two ways, okay? Take note, there are two ways of committing piracy. The first way is by attacking or seizing the vessel. Ibig sabihin, kinuha yung buong barko. Okay? Seizing. Attacking and seizing the entire vessel. Okay, like kinuha yung entire na barko. So the barko cost billions, if millions, if not billions of peso, no? So if you seize, pag kinuha mo yung barko, then intent to gain is already presumed. Okay? That is the first way or first act of piracy. The second way of committing piracy is hindi mo kinuha yung buong barko, hindi mo siniz yung buong barko, but you seize whole or part of the cargoes of the vessel, okay? Equipment or personal belongings of its complement or passengers. Meaning, instead na ang barko ang kunin mo, yung mga laman, sakay ng barko ang kinuha mo. Like for example, if it is a cargo vessel transporting luxury items such as luxury cars or even cars not very luxurious in nature, cars or art artifacts, antiques, or even foods, no? Let's say barrels of wheat, barrels of rice, or whatever. Basta yung kinuha mo yung laman ng barko, okay? Pwede din mga pag-aari lang ng mga complements, meaning the crew, the staff of the ship or the barko, or yung mga gamit ng mga passenger, okay? Like for example, in a cruise ship, no? Yung cruise ship, lahat ng most of the people who are in the cruise ship are, kind of rich because they were able to afford the payment for a cruise ship. So, pag kinuha mo yung mga ginto nila, mga diamante nila, or whatever na mga valuable na mga items, then you are still committing the crime of piracy. Okay? That is easy to remember. Okay? A recap para hindi mawala. Okay? Two kinds of piracy. Piracy in high seas and piracy within Philippine territorial waters. And then there are also two ways of committing piracy. Piracy by seizing the entire ship, or piracy through seizing whole or part of the cargoes, personal belongings of the complements or passenger. Okay? That's very self-explanatory and easy to remember. Now, let's proceed to mutiny. Ano naman tong mutiny? Mutiny is the unlawful resistance to a superior or raising of commotion and disturbance on board a ship against the authority of its commander. Anong ibig sabihin nun? Okay? Diba? I'm not quite familiar of the position titles of those in the ship, but I'm sure if there is a ship, the pinaka-head ng ship is the ship captain. Ano pa namang mas mataas pa sa ship captain, okay? The ship captain. And then this ship captain has subordinates, okay? Meron siyang mga subordinates. Like for example, if one of the subordinates of the ship captain, okay, resist, hindi pumayag sa mga utos, no? Resist the order of the superior, no? And it caused commotion, kaguluhan, okay? Kaguluhan in Tagalog, kagubot in Bisaya, okay? Then that is mutiny, okay? Because you are supposed to follow the orders of your captain, but if you are resisting the lawful orders of your ship captain, then you can be considered guilty, or you can be held guilty of the crime of mutiny. Okay, I think the favorite question for this module is the distinction between piracy and mutiny. Okay, distinction, it's very important. I might ask this in your final exam or in your P1 exam. Okay, I'm still thinking if I'm If I'm going to have an essay type of questions for your P1 or multiple choice, I'm still thinking. But nevertheless, you need to remember the distinction between mutiny and piracy. Okay, as to the offenders, kung ibig sabihin ng offenders, sino yung may kasalanan, sino yung nagkasala, okay? As to the offenders, in piracy, stranger to the vessel. Pasabot, ibig sabihin, hindi kasama sa vessel, okay? Because they are outsider, okay? The pirates are outsider of the sea. They are not part of the complement. They are not passengers of the ship. So, yung mga pirata, outsider. In mutiny naman, mutiny can be committed by either the complement or yung ibig sabihin ng complement yung mga staff, no, ng mga crew ng ship, okay? Or the passenger of the vessel. So, yun. So, sino ang pwede magkasala sa piracy? Outsider. Mutiny? Insider. Okay? Remember that. And then, intent to gain. Okay? Animo fruende. Sino ang may animo fruende? It's piracy. Okay? It is important. In mutiny, hindi important yung intent to gain. So, hindi it means to say that you resist a lawful order not because you want to gain something. Okay? Not all the time that you resist because you want to have something. No, you want to earn, to gain something out of that resistance. You just resist simply because you want to resist. Okay? For whatever reason it may be intent to gain, intent to usurp the power and authority of the ship captain, or you have a personal vendetta against the ship captain. Whatever your reason, it is immaterial in mutiny. What is material is that you resist, no? You resist or raise a commotion. Resist is anong ang Tagalog nun? I already mentioned. Resist meaning I forgot. Resist is hindi ka my Tagalog is really bad. Hindi ka you don't obey, okay? I don't know how to say it in Tagalog. I'm so sorry. Resist is that you don't follow the orders of your superior, okay? And then raise commotion, it cause commotion, kaguluhan. Okay, you cause a kaguluhan in the ship. Okay, so that is mutiny. Whatever the reason it may be, it may be intent to gain or not, it is not material. But in piracy, intent to gain is very essential. Okay, now as to the attack, piracy, since it is committed by an outsider, then the attack comes from the outside, and in mutiny, the attack came from or comes from the inside. Okay? So, yun lang. Yun lang ang piracy and mutiny. However, we need also to discuss qualified piracy. Ano naman tong qualified piracy, attorney? Qualified piracy is piracy plus, okay? Yung sinabi ko, 'di ba? Piracy is a robbery or robbery or what do you call that? Depredation, okay? Robbery or depredation in the high seas or Philippine water with intent to gain, okay? That is piracy. Magiging qualified piracy siya if yung pagnanakaw, because piracy is like a pagnanakaw, no? Is coupled, okay? So meaning pagnanakaw plus these three circumstances. There are three qualifying circumstances. One, whenever the seized vessel by boarding or firing upon the same. Okay? Ang pagkuha, no? Ang pagkuha sa vessel, pag-seize, pagnanakaw sa vessel, pagkuha mo sa entirety ng vessel, or ang pag-akyat, okay? Or ang pag-akyat, boarding, okay? Seize a vessel by boarding or firing upon the same. Okay? So, ninakaw mo yung vessel. Paano mo ninakaw? Boarding. pumasok ka sa vessel, okay? Pumasok ka sa vessel or pinaputukan mo yung vessel, firing the same. So, pag gumamit ka ng mga paputok, whatever kind of ammunition that is in doing any act of piracy, then that is qualified piracy. Or whenever the pirates abandon their victim without means of saving themselves, like for example, kinuha mo yung entire ship, then tinapon mo yung mga tao, no? Tinapon ng pirata yung mga tao sa dagat without any provision for life support, like life jacket or lifeboat, okay? So that is qualified piracy. And then the third circumstance is that the crime is accompanied by murder, homicide, physical injuries, or rape. Okay? So we will discuss murder, homicide, physical injuries, or rape in another lecture video. But for now, you need to understand that there are 3 circumstances that might make piracy qualified piracy. Okay. Sir, what will happen if the crime committed is qualified piracy? Then since this is qualified piracy, the penalty for piracy will be imposed 1 degree higher for qualified piracy. Okay? I don't know, I cannot memorize the penalty for piracy. But I think, is it a capital punishment? I don't know. So, I'm sorry, I don't also encourage you to memorize the penalties, because this is beyond your scope of learning, okay? As police officers, you are not supposed to memorize the penalties because it is the function of the judiciary. Nevertheless, you need to understand that qualified piracy only means that since the gravity, ang kabugaton, that's in Tagalog, Bisaya, I really don't know how to speak Tagalog fluently. I am not fluent in Tagalog. I am very sorry. But the gravity, ang bigat, the intensity of the crime in qualified piracy is elevated because of the 3 circumstances, because either of the 3 circumstances is present in the act of piracy. Okay? So, yun. Instead of, let's say, reclusion, I'm not even, like, let's say for example, reclusion temporal. So what the penalty for piracy is, let's say reclusion temporal, then 1 degree higher is reclusion, I don't want to speak if I don't want to make you confused. So let's see. Okay. So let's say, from prisión mayor, from prisión mayor, that reclusion temporal, then this is reclusion temporal, then prisión mayor, then reclusion perpetua. So let's say, for example lang for you to understand, the penalty of piracy is reclusion prisión mayor, okay? So temporal, prisión mayor, reclusion perpetua. Let's say the penalty for piracy is prisión mayor, and if either of the 3 circumstances that I have mentioned is present in the acts of piracy, or during the conduct of the robbery in the high seas or Philippine water, then the penalty to be imposed is, instead of prisión mayor, 1 degree higher, that is reclusion perpetua. Okay? Okay. Yes. So, that's what we mean by qualified piracy. Basta qualified, mas mataas yung penalty. Same as rape. Okay? So, if it's qualified rape, the penalty is higher. If it is theft plus qualifying circumstance, it will become robbery. So, the penalty of robbery is 1 degree higher than theft. So, that's how we are going to understand qualified piracy. Okay? So that's it. Or okay, wait. Sorry, malapit nang malubat yung cellphone ko no, na ginagamit ko mag-record. Okay, so, um, jurisdiction, I don't know if it is important for you, but I don't know if it will come out in your board exam, but I don't want to be remiss in my obligation as your teacher, so I'll just discuss the jurisdiction of piracy. When you say jurisdiction, sino ang may karapatang hatol ng penalty for the crime? Okay, so who should exercise the power to impose penalty? That is jurisdiction in a very layman's term. Okay, so that is jurisdiction. So jurisdiction for piracy committed in high seas, di ba sabi ko yung high sea is a part of the ocean or sea that is not owned by any country, no? So walang pagmamay-ari. So sino ang, kung sabihin mo sir, pag walang may-ari, so sino ang pwede mag-impose, no? Sino ang pwede mag-impose ng kanilang jurisdiction? Sabi sa law, no? According to the law or according to jurisprudence or according to some scholar papers, no? Piracy is a crime against all mankind. Ibig sabihin, because of the nature of this crime that is very grave in nature, no? Parang bakit mo naman nanakawan yung barko na may dala ng mga bigas, barko na may dala ng mga oil or mga fuel, no? That is very disastrous to our economy. So because of the impact of your action, no, the grave, the negative impact of your action, piracy is considered by most jurisdiction or by most country as a crime against mankind. So it means to say that if piracy is committed in high seas, then any court or any country can exercise jurisdiction if where the offender or offenders are found or arrested. Like for example, if it is committed, piracy is committed in high seas and the one who committed it were found in Japan, then Japan can exercise jurisdiction. If the one who committed piracy is if the person or persons who committed the piracy is or are found in the Philippines, then our court can exercise jurisdiction. So it means to say, kasi 'di ba, again, concept of criminal law 1, I don't know if you still remember, criminal law, we have the territoriality principle. Okay, territoriality principle meaning laws can only be imposed within its territorial jurisdiction. So ang exemption again here is this piracy in high seas, no? Kahit it is beyond the Philippine jurisdiction, then because of its the gravity of the offense committed, the Philippine court can still exercise jurisdiction over the person who committed the piracy. Okay, and you also need to remember, no, venue in criminal cases is jurisdictional. Venue in criminal cases is jurisdictional, meaning kung saan ginawa yung crime, yung lugar na yun ang mag-exercise ng jurisdiction. Like for example, if someone killed a person in Cagayan de Oro, it's the proper courts of Cagayan de Oro who can exercise jurisdiction. Hindi pwede dalhin yung case or hindi pwede na mag-exercise ng jurisdiction ang courts of Camiguin or Manila. Kasi the venue of the crime is jurisdictional. Kung saan ginawa yung crime, doon dapat litisin yung nakasala. Okay? So, and again, an exemption to the rule is this piracy in high seas. Okay? And then, we will not discuss so much about that. Venue is jurisdictional because that is criminal procedure. Okay? I hope your criminal procedure teacher will discuss it because very important for police officers. Okay, venue is jurisdictional. You need to understand. You need to remember that. Okay, now when can we consider piracy or mutiny as act of terrorism? Because we have Republic Act 9372 or the Human Security Act of 2007. Okay, yung mga act ng piracy and mutiny can be considered terrorism if these following circumstances are present. A person commits an act punishable as piracy and mutiny, thereby sowing and creating a condition of widespread and extraordinary fear and panic among the populace in order to coerce the government to give in their unlawful demand shall be guilty of terrorism. Attorney, ang taas hindi namin naiintindihan. Okay, let us make an example for you to understand when can piracy or mutiny considered as a terroristic act. Okay, Philippine, let's say maraming barko na dumadaan here in the Philippines, okay? And then this rebel group, okay? This rebel group, okay? What they are doing is that in order to force the Philippine government to do their bidding or to follow their rules or to do what they want. Like for example, let's just say for example, because I don't want to offend someone, okay? Let's say for example, here in Camiguin, okay? Here in Camiguin na lang ang gagamitin ko para hindi na lang ma-offend ang ibang tao, okay? I know I have students from Camiguin, so don't be offended. Let's say, for example, people here in Camiguin, no? There's an organized group here in Camiguin, okay? And they wanted Camiguin to be considered as a sovereign country, meaning we will be separate from the Republic of the Philippines, no? Parang gawing country na ang Pilipinas, okay? Gawing country na ang Pilipinas. We will have our own president, senators, and whatnot, okay? Of a parang Republic of Camiguin. We want to establish a Republic of Camiguin, okay? And for us to coerce, no? For us to force the Philippine government to give us the freedom that we are asking to be a sovereign country, lahat ng mga barkong dumadaan here in Camiguin, hina-hijack namin, mga nagiging pirata na yung mga grupo na yon, and the main purpose other than getting money, no, or earning or gaining something, no, is to really force the government to grant our sovereignty. And because of our act, and considering that Camiguin is the route to Camiguin is frequently and the most traveled route among seafarers, then because of our action, no, it's so parang nagtatanim siya ng takot, no, nagtatanim ng takot at extraordinary na hindi lang takot kundi extraordinary na takot at panic. And if that will happen, then your piracy and mutiny or your acts of piracy and mutiny can be considered an act of terrorism. For me lang, don't quote me on this. Parang yung definition naman na widespread, causing widespread and extraordinary fear and panic, very subjective in nature, no? Very subjective. So depende yun sa judge, sa appreciation niya sa facts, kung yung mga actions na ginawa ba or yung mga circumstances na attending to the case can be considered as a widespread and extraordinary fear or panic, no? Or how did it cause of extraordinary fear or panic. So yun lang, no? I don't think it's na parang difficult for your level, no? Difficult for your level. Maybe if someone or most of you or few or some of you will proceed to law school, then you will take up human rights, and RA 9372 is one of the laws that you will discuss, and you will have more thorough discussion on that matter. But for now, for your board exam purposes and for your exam purposes, please focus on the differentiation between mutiny and piracy, and the two ways of committing piracy and the two types of piracy. Okay, yun lang. Yun ang most important here. Okay? Yung venue is jurisdictional, no? Pang top notcher na yun sa board exam if you remembered my discussion on venue is jurisdictional in criminal law. Okay? So, that would be all for Module 3.